Meeting to order. The invocation will be led by Vice Mayor Wilson after the pledge by Councilmember Barker.
Heavenly Father, we are again gathered together this wonderful evening to perform city business. We ask for your continued oversight for us and our city staff as we continue to keep this community a great place to work and live and raise a family. With heavy hearts, we join the communities of Dayton, Ohio and El Paso, Texas, as they're dealing with the recent drastic events that occurred this past weekend. Be with everyone as they work through the loss and suffering of the survivors. Give them strength as they celebrate the lives of everyone, and give them and give the injured your healing hands for a speedy recovery, as well as extend your healing hand to everyone that was traumatized by these events. We again ask for your protective hand for our first responders and our military members and their families wherever they are serving throughout the world. Keep them all safe each and every day. In the Lord's name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started, I just want to point out that when we come in mass like this late, we're not late. We're actually coming out of executive session. We had a resident be very upset with us last week or last meeting, but that's why we're not late. We've been here for well over an hour. So roll call.
Mayor Surtee?
Here.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Here.
Councilmember Barker?
Here.
Councilmember Evans?
Here.
Councilmember Rizzi?
Present.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Here.
Councilmember Struble?
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Do we have a motion on the consent agenda?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the consent agenda be accepted as presented and that the award of contract to Sunland Asphalt for the reconstruction of Ironwood Drive from Lost Dutchman Boulevard to McKellips Road through the One Government Procurement Alliance Cooperative Contract number 17-16P-05 in the amount of and not to exceed $654,800. Whoops, my thing just went off, so sorry. Hello. My screen went down. Not to exceed $654,878.40, and that the agreement with Independent News Media USA Incorporated for the purpose of designing, publishing, printing, and distributing the Citizen magazine, which promotes parks and recs, etc., be authorized by the city manager to execute and sign the agreement, as well as future possible extensions of said agreement.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
Yes.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Do we have any announcements or current events today? We'll start on this side. Robin?
Not tonight, thank you.
Robert?
No, sir.
Krista?
I do not, thank you.
Jeff?
Me. Just like to invite everybody on September 14th at Flatiron Park from 3 to 6. We're going to be holding a Constitution celebration. It's going to be an event where we're going to have speakers and music and just kind of celebrate the signing of the Constitution long time ago. So come on down. There'll be more information as we get closer.
Gail?
I attended the monthly meeting for the Community Development Corporation, and we're all in line and have a lot of motivation going right now for our October, and I just went blank on the name of it.
So Make a Difference Day?
Make a Difference.
Yep, on that Saturday, the 26th, yeah.
We're working on our T-shirts for our volunteers and looking for business sponsors. So we've finally, after trying for about 2 years, we've got a good amount of momentum headed in a great direction.
Chip?
Yeah, actually, my wife and I had an experience here just a few days ago, and I want to caution everybody. Unfortunately, there was someone in the city of Phoenix that got caught up in this. Got a telephone call and starts out with saying, this is a call to tell you that your Social Security has been frozen
I got
and
that
that you
too.
need to, and going on from there. Please hang up on that individual. Do not respond to it. And above all, do not go to the bank and try to withdraw the money that they're wanting.
Don't hang up on them, yell at them first.
I'll agree with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Get a horn.
We still have
Is that it?
Social Security?
Okay, I have several. The Founder's Day is coming closer every week, and the Founder's Day Committee met again. That's still open. We meet the first Thursday of every month at the library, way in the back. There's a conference room there. And there's going to be a logo contest to design the logo that'll go on bags and T-shirts and banners, et cetera. And there's actually going to be a $500 prize for that. So look for news for that online and in the paper, and it's open to any artist in the area. Since we've met, we had a ribbon cutting at the Bella Corona. Let's go back to that. It's also, we got, the rest of this week is still free dump week until Saturday. So clean up those yards. Then we opened Bella Corona. And then I believe the following and a couple days later, we cut the ribbon on Apache Junction Villas, which is the same folks that did the one across from the library. And it's really nice in there. It's definitely, it's a home in there. I had the pleasure of going to Superior, and Resolution Copper, who's going to be a great partner with the community, the whole area, they gave scholarships to 4, 6, 7 different communities, and we had the winner there in front. That's Natalie, and they each got money for going to college. These were all seniors last year. They're all starting, and I'll be happy to announce that 6 of the 7 are going to ASU, and only 1 is going to U of A. So they're already very smart kids. So the first year that Robin, Chip, and I got on council, we made a hire for someone at our water department, which was Frank Blanco, and he is retired. And he took us so far, and we were so lucky to get him with his experience, and we opened up a new water plant. Just about every decision he made worked out, and it was, if we needed something done, we just were assured that it was going to get done the right way, and we were so honored, and so we're saying goodbye. Has he already had his last day?
He did, yep. His last day was
He
last
did.
week, yep.
And there's a montage of some of the accomplishments, and so with that, Bryant, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Your Honor. Bryant Powell, City Manager. Maybe I'll just add the 12 years that we had with Frank were wonderful. He added to our water base. He was able to achieve a huge agreement with the Gila River Indian community for 1,000 acre feet of water per year for 100 years. He transitioned us from a groundwater, primarily group to a surface water group or system. And we sent him off last week, and he's in retirement. So we wish him the very best, and it actually kind of leads me to my next discussion, which is that we have gone out and for the community that may or may not understand how the water district works, for residents in the city of Apache Junction, there's actually 2 geographic areas. One is 2/3 of the city has the Arizona Water Company, which provides service to the residents' water service, and then the other is Apache Junction Water District. USET is the board of the Apache Junction Water District, Community Facility District number 1, and we have interviewed a new director, and we'd like to introduce him to the community, Mike Loggins. If you'll come up, I'd just make a couple statements. He's an 18-year veteran of water engineering. He has served as our engineer and superintendent, kind of like a deputy in many ways, of the Apache Junction Water District for 6 years. And he has great experience in water management and has learned our system very well. So, Mayor, Your Honor, and community, we introduce Mike Loggins as the new water director of the Apache Junction Water District and bring him to the city council meeting as soon as I could. And he's here to answer any questions or anything you'd like to do, Mike.
Do you have a prepared speech?
Yeah.
I do not, but I'll say a few things. I'd like to thank Bryant and Matt for this opportunity to lead the Water District. As you guys are aware here, I've been at the Water District for the last 6 years. The Water Board / City Council has been a great place to work for. The support that you guys give us is great because we can build the projects that we need to keep the community moving forward. And again, Frank Blanco was here for 12 years, built a great foundation to keep growing on. And I look forward to some of the future projects and working with you guys as we go on.
Welcome.
Congratulations.
Big shoes to fill and high expectations, and we know Mike's up to the task. So we're really looking forward to that. As part of my report tonight, we'll just, again, we are getting great momentum with the residents on Make a Difference Day, Saturday, October 26th. Continue to seek out projects, and we continue to seek out volunteers. So we'll keep that going. Fox has been working hard. We even have some sponsorships on the median enhancement project, which is a portion of that day. Wanted to also recognize, just this week I've got 3 letters from residents and different folks in the community. One is from resident giving kudos to our park ranger program, and especially, let's see, very nice compliment to Ange, who had an interaction this week. Anyway, long story short is our park ranger helped her with her elderly mother through some a really concern when she lost her pet. And didn't have the pet for a while, and Ange was able to help her find it and help keep her, comforted as she helped find it. This last week, we received a letter from a sheriff in Minnesota who said the following: Dear Director Lagenbach, I want to take a minute to compliment the City of Apache Junction Park and Recreation Department park rangers, and specifically Aaron Porzel. My wife and I, in the last 18 months, purchased a home in Gold Canyon. We moved to Arizona as full-time residents. We have made a point to do business in Apache Junction. Extremely friendly staff. I wanted to bring to your attention what a wonderful skate park you have. My son, who's 14, and his friend were there and used it 5 to 7 days during the week of July 2019. In the evening, I personally ran on the trail system in the park, and I felt very safe and clean. I have also been in your park out by Silly Mountain Road. I have been on city council for Cambridge, Minnesota for 8 years, and now sheriff in Isanti County for 5, and I know the challenges one can have with funding parks and other quality of life venues. I must compliment Apache Junction. You obviously are willing to focus time and money on your parks and other amenities. They make your city great, a great place to live and work and play. So wanted to pass that one along. And then I also received a letter this week honoring one of our officers who went and did the extra mile. Just wanted to personally thank from the bottom of my heart for, this went to the chief, for commanding your entire department the way you do. I've never seen so many caring, respectful, and genuine men located in one place. Anyway, she said she got pulled over for a traffic stop, but she says she's never met a person nicer and more complimentary during that, which is very hard to do. So I wanted to just highlight some of the great things that are going on with staff. We have a lot of great things going on in the community. And that concludes my report, Your Honor.
Thank you. Presentation, discussion, public hearing, and consideration of approval of resolution number 1908, adopting infrastructure improvement plan. Larry. And are we going to mix 8, 9, and?
Yes, sir, we are.
So also, number 9 as well, presentation, discussion on consideration of resolution 19-09, land development code. 10 as well?
Yes.
And 10.
Yep.
Presentation, discussion on ordinance of number 1472. So Larry, talk about all of those.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. We're back again to talk about development fees. Again, these are required to be updated every 10 years, every 5 years. And there's 2 products that we're going to work on tonight. One are the land use assumptions, that study that takes place to figure out what the fees are. And then Chapter 7 in Volume 2, the Development Code, is where we implement the fees. So we've been here probably 4 or 5 times with public meetings, public hearings. This was advertised. We were here about 30 days ago. I think it was July 2nd. We were here on basically the same topic. State law requires that we then have yet another 30-day period for folks to consider it. That's why we're here tonight. And then if you adopt them tonight, they don't go into effect for yet another 75 days to give people a chance if they want to pay early or et cetera. So that's kind of the history. I guess I didn't add the July 2nd meeting, but just so you know, you're well aware that we've had several meetings on this topic. So maybe the public, the audience might not know this, but we started back in November with hiring a consultant, approving a contract. We met with developers twice, housing developers, to see what they thought about the fees in between this section. Then we've had a total of 3 public hearings so far. This is the 4th public hearing. Again, tonight would be the final night, so there are a resolution adopting the development fee study, a resolution where you adopt the ordinance by reference, and then the ordinance itself. And this is the final report with the final date of that meeting. And then these are the proposed fees. We highlight, of course, that some of them are going up in the residential side. We do have some fees that are going down fairly dramatically in the non-residential commercial side for office, et cetera. They're going down by about $1. Same thing for industrial. So I think, again, in talking to one of the major home builders in the country, they said our fees are pretty competitive to what you see in the region here, at least on the home builder side. And that's, you have the final versions in front of you tonight, and so we're going to open up for public hearing if anybody wants to talk, and then you can make your decision.
Any discussion first?
We talked about it.
Okay. This is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak on this item? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing, and one last chance for discussion. Then I'll ask for a motion.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that resolution number 19-08, a resolution of the mayor and city council of the city of Apache Junction, Arizona, adopting the Development Infrastructure Improvement Plan, land use assumptions, and development fee report be approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
And on item number 9 is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak on it? Hearing and seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any more discussion? Then I'll ask for a motion.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that resolution number 19-09 declaring as a public record that certain document filed with the city clerk entitled 2019 Apache Junction City Code, Volume 2, Land Development Code, Chapter 7, Development Fees, be approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi?
Yes.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Item number 10, which is number 1472, is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak on this? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Any more discussion? And I'll ask for a motion.
Your
Yeah.
Honor,
Yes.
I move that ordinance number 1472, amending the Apache Junction City Code, Volume 2, Land Development Code by repealing Chapter 7, Development Fees in its entirety, and adopting by reference a new Chapter 7, Development Fees, establishing an effective date and revolving 60-month review period, repealing any conflicting provisions, and providing for severability be approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Rizzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Presentation, discussion, and public hearing of proposed projects to be submitted under resolution number 1905, fiscal year 2019, Community CDBG. Heather.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. Heather Patel with Development Services. We have a few items here. The first one is Resolution 19-05, which was actually adopted back in April. We had our public hearing to select the projects we wanted to submit, and the council adopted the resolution. We did find out that the public notice for that public hearing was not put in the paper, so we have to come back this evening and do it again. So before we open the public hearing, I am required to go over a few items. After that, we do have another resolution that's before you, is Resolution 1923, which commits local funds as leverage to our previously selected fiscal 19 CDBG application. And then, so those are the two items basically before you. So in preparation for the public hearing, I am required to point out a few things about the CDBG program, the objectives of the program. All of this information can be found on the city's website at ajcity.net/CDBG. But we do have to pick a project that meets one of the 3 national objectives. It has to benefit low to moderate income people, address a slum and blight, or address an urgent need. And then the project eligible activities, there's a whole variety of things that the CDBG program can do. We do have to follow underneath what the state of Arizona designates as projects that they are interested in funding. We also have a complete list of previous uses of our CDBG funds over the years. That's on our website. This year, or the fiscal 19, we have a little over $91,000 for the CDBG regional account. And then, of course, we do also have access to the $300,000 for the state special project funding. On our website, we do also list our grievance procedure and any assistance for any technical assistance that people in the community can take use of. So through the public participation process that we did have, and what was previously approved back in April, was to continue with our infrastructure improvements to the Grandview neighborhood, which are the streets of Grand, Ocotillo, Maine, Palo Verde, and Saguaro that are south of the trail, north of Broadway. And so we've been working on that neighborhood for several years, putting in sidewalks and doing some curb and gutter, some drainage solutions. So those were the projects that we proposed, and which you did select back in April to move forward with that. So we can open up for a public hearing, see if anybody has anything that they want to.
Does anyone want to discuss anything first? What?
We talked about
Okay.
it. It was.
All right, this is a public hearing. Would anyone like to speak on these issues? Hearing and seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any more discussion? Then I'll ask for a motion.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that resolution number 19-05, a resolution of the mayor and the city council of the city of Apache Junction, Arizona, authorizing the submission of fiscal year 2019 Community Development Block Grant and fiscal year 2019 State Special Project Grant application and resolution number 19-23, committing local funds as leverage to the city's FY19 CDBG application be approved.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Evans?
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi?
Yes.
Councilmember Struble?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson?
Yes.
Councilmember Barker?
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder?
Yes.
Mayor Surtee?
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Heather. Presentation and discussion on fiscal year 2019 and 20 Public Works CIP and Street Maintenance Plan. Shane, we haven't seen you for months.
Do you have jokes?
What did the Lincoln penny say to the Elizabethan Canadian penny?
That's a no.
Let's get together and make some sense. Rare do I have a joke, but I just had to.
He was ready, yeah.
That was good.
I'm
I'm going to use that one.
from Shane.
Thank you, council, and City Mayor and Council and staff, thank you for this Tuesday evening. Thank you for having me on to talk tonight about our Public Works CIP Street Maintenance Plan. This is something I look forward to talk to you about each year, your opportunity to ask some questions, get an idea of what projects we're planning for the year. This presentation serves as the vanguard for a lot of specific project agreements that you'll see, and you just saw one tonight on your consent. So you'll see some other agreements through the fiscal year as we complete the project boards for all of our maintenance and CIP projects as we move forward into the year. So with that, we'll jump into it here. So one of my main objectives here tonight is to give you a sense of how we are doing with our street maintenance. Street maintenance gets to be very difficult because there's always challenging with funds out there, also impacts to the city, to the streets. We try to minimize those impacts for the community. So it's always an interesting topic to talk about. We'll talk about those projects, as I mentioned, maintenance prioritization of those projects, as well as some of those time frames where we could when we're looking at those projects. Also, just as you can see, there's some pictures I usually embed in there, and those are pictures of projects this last year. I always get up here and talk about the plans, but I don't get a chance to talk about, hey, this is what we got done for the last fiscal year. So you'll see some of those pictures, and I'll point them out here as we move forward. One of the projects is North Idaho, from Lost Dutchman to McKellips. So you'll see that left picture there is a before picture. We rate our streets on a remaining service life from 0 to 20, 0 being really bad to 20 being a good street. You can see Idaho was close to being 0 in some places, and after this last year, we made it looking really good on that right picture on the right side. So with remaining service life, we rate the condition of our streets on an annual basis. So our main level of service we try to achieve is an average of the overall RSL of the streets to be 14, and that is in that fair to good condition. So of course it's always fiscally impossible to have every road to be a 20 out there, so a 14 is that fair to good, and that's what you'll see characteristic to a lot of communities, a lot of counties and states, is try to hit that fair and good. Where we were at last year was a 12.41. We had gone down to a 12.33 this last year. Also, we had a very wet winter, and you guys have heard me many times preach about that's our main enemy with streets, as it is most everywhere in the nation. So this RSL 12.33 was put together last November when we finished doing the condition assessments. I think we're probably down in the 11s right now, so just want to keep that in mind. I don't think 11 is too bad. I've been here 16 years, and our average RSL has been worse than that. And usually when you get into that 11 or below 11 is when you start getting more complaints. And maybe some of you have been receiving some of those complaints. But that's usually what happens. And when we get it closer to that 14, then we don't see as many street complaints as we do. That picture there, Winchester Road, another big reconstruction project here that we completed this last year, and that was done by our in-house forces. A lot of these projects that we're talking about are done in force with our own forces or contracted, as you saw tonight with the agreement that you passed in consent here tonight. That oversized map that I gave you is this oversized map. I know it's small on your screen, so I gave you that oversized map. Also, one big disclaimer I can't stress enough, when it comes to plans, a street maintenance plan, CIP plan, there's so many variables at play that I'd like to say this is definitely a working plan. Some of these projects may be pushed off because we are missing doing the right treatment at the right time, and that is critical. I do not want to waste money and do a wrong treatment on the wrong road at the wrong time. So sometimes you'll see some of these projects move into the next fiscal year, or sometimes you'll see scope get limited as well. So I just want to mention that to you if you have conversations with any of your constituents related to street work. Just be caution to that. Also, when it comes to prioritization of streets, like I said, we do a condition assessment on an annual basis. We have a pavement management software that helps accumulate all this information that we put together and assess each year. And that helps determine where that right time is window when it comes to the treatments for segments of roads. Also, you'll see about about 60 to 70% of the monies that we spend for maintenance go towards our arterial roads. Those are the roads that usually have a lot faster speed limit, so they do take a degree of more maintenance to keep them safe when it comes to faster speed limits. And also they serve as an arterial to the city, meaning main avenues for emergency response personnel and stuff. So that's why you'll see that on a year basis, 60, 70% more of the money is going towards those arterial streets. Getting into some of the projects here. First project that we will see is in middle September, and that will be the slurry seal of the Old West Highway, as well as Southern Avenue and 2 portions of Tomahawk Road, and you'll see that in green on your map. Also, another project this fall I'm anxious to do is the Ironwood Cove and Apache Villa subdivision, big subdivision there south of Broadway, north of 16th, just west of Ironwood. Probably looking at that October time frame for that project. And then we have another small subdivision this spring, Cortez Ranch, that we're looking at, as well as there's some segments of roads that are spread throughout the city that we are going to try to also pick up at that same time as well. One of them including Plaza, south of Super, especially when you get to that southern part of Plaza. I think most of you have driven that, and you can see it's in relatively bad shape. Also, crack sealing, a lot of various locations, and that will be, primary effort there will be by in-house forces. Crack sealing is the best street maintenance that you could do. Like I said, fill those cracks so water can't intrude into the cracks. Water and sun in Arizona. If we were up in the Midwest, it's water, but sun wouldn't even be on the list. But down here in Arizona, water and sun are usually our biggest degraders of our pavements out there. All right, just moving on here, that was our preservation projects. When we look at what we're looking at for reconstruction or rehab overlays, we don't have any overlays identified for this fiscal year, but we do have some reconstruction, and that is that Ironwood Drive that we just, you guys just voted on here tonight, Lost Dutchman to McKellips. Scope of work is going to be much like what we did up at Idaho. So we expect also to include in the scope some bike lanes on that portion of Ironwood going up that way, so that'll be something new. And also, again, going back to our efforts over the years to add bike lanes, we're making all efforts where we can per the transportation plan too, as we adopted, I know, this last year. Also, we're looking to get back into the Pablo del Sol subdivision there, which is west of Delaware, south of Superstition. We started some improvements back there half dozen years ago with some curb gutter sidewalk, also some paving, but over the years, it's been a tough time to get the money to do the curb gutter sidewalk, but we're making all efforts to continue forward with replacing the pavement in that subdivision. Also, then we hope to drop down to the smaller subdivision to the south of there, the Haven Hollow, still west of Delaware, just south of Pablo del Sol, north of Apache Trail. Again, pavement in very bad shape, so we're looking to use our in-house forces to start the paving in that subdivision, which more than likely would not finish up until the next fiscal year, so this would be considered a first phase. So we just talked about some maintenance projects. So when I say CIP, capital improvement plan, essentially that's new construction. Oftentimes when you talk about new construction, it's usually capacity building, construction of traffic signals, new interchanges, also having to do with drainage projects. So some of the projects here we're looking at this fiscal year is that Winchester Road, 16th Avenue to Southern, looking at storm drain, widening. You guys know there's a significant dirt shoulder on that west side. Hopefully we'll be able to widen that pavement, increase some of the drainage through that area with this project. And we're looking at fall 2019. However, we're getting into the summer, so I'm thinking this time frame is pushing back here a little bit. And then Southern Avenue, this is the widening from Delaware to Ironwood. Again, it'll be a widening of the through lanes, the traffic lanes, as well as some curb gutter and sidewalk. And we're looking at a possible startup of summer 2019, however, in the middle of summer, so that might be sliding here a little bit as well, but we're still optimistic that project will move forward and have a great result in that area. And then also continuing the Grandview subdivision, where over the last few years, we've been adding curb, gutter, and sidewalks. So we're looking to continue adding that, which will add a lot of benefits to the drainage going through that area, as well as just beautification to that overall area there in that part of the city. Another big project, and I say big because this intersection is one of the worst that I have to drive through every day, and that's the Meridian Baseline Avenue. So this is a traffic signal that's currently being spearheaded by McDOT for design. So we're getting close to the end of the design for that. So we anticipate here within a year. So looking at possibly summer 2020 for that traffic signal project to go into construction. And then also, when it comes to drainage, we can't forget about drainage. Yeah, it doesn't rain a lot, but man, we got a lot of drainage needs, a lot of potential when it comes to addressing some of our drainage. So there is discussions currently existing with Pinal County. Pinal County, to my understanding, is also moving forward right now with a design with a detention pond in the area just southeast of the roundabout out here. And that will be an opportunity for the city to intersect a lot of that water that goes across North Apache Trail and impacts some of those areas to the west of Plaza on Plaza in that area. All right, I know I went through that pretty fast, so I'll definitely open it up to any questions or comments, concerns.
So that the intersection of Baseline and Meridian, that's going to be a joint effort between us and Mesa?
Yes, yes.
And
Councilmember, and Pinal County.
Pinal County
actually has a.
And so we get a say as to the layout of it and the design of it and everything that's going to happen
Yes.
Also Maricopa County.
in Maricopa.
You said Mesa.
Maricopa County, Pinal County,
Yeah.
City of Apache Junction.
Yeah. And then on the RSL, the ratings for the, are those, do other cities give out theirs as public knowledge and such, or, so we know what to compare us to,
Yes.
the rest
I
of
did,
the?
or included this to the council, I think a couple of years
Yeah.
ago. I showed, some of the cities use a PCI, Pavement Condition Index, RSL, so you have to convert a little bit, but I did that, presented to you, and showed the council that our level of service is very comparable and even higher in some areas where I was surprised to actually see our level of service was expected was higher than some cities.
Yeah. That's what I wanted you to say, because driving all around the valley, there's some of the other cities that, they have the same problem we do with keeping up their maintenance and everything, but I think we're a lot better off on our streets overall than some other cities in the valley and stuff, so I would just want to give you guys the kudos for keeping up with the sometimes lack of funding that we can provide to you for doing that, so, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
The southern from Meridian to Ironwood, you have a gap there just west of Ironwood. Is that an intentional gap, or does the construction just go to that point?
You talking about the CIP project there, the Southern Avenue, Delaware to Ironwood? Is that correct, Council?
Yeah, I'm looking at the map.
Yeah, so there would be so Southern would be widened from Ironwood, where it's already widened to the east of
Right.
Ironwood. So we'll start widening Southern from Ironwood to Delaware, but there will be a gap then, 2 lanes, back down to 2 lanes from Delaware to Meridian,
Okay.
correct?
Thank you.
I got a question.
Go.
The Meridian and Baseline, is that a full-blown traffic light?
Yes, full-blown traffic signal, however, we do not have a lot of sidewalk curb gutter, so you won't, I would hesitate to say it's gonna be a full improvement as for what you'll see with all curb gutter sidewalk.
A street light would do out there. You can't see anything at night.
So it would be, so if your question is street lighting, yes, there would be luminaires on top of the traffic signal.
The traffic light,
However,
the traffic light, full-blown traffic light.
once that gets a street light, does that make it more desirable for commercial? And then,
Yes.
and then once that happens, then we get curb and gutters very quickly.
Well, I was just curious because you have a full-blown traffic light there. Sunland Village East, the light going into the Barrows and the movie theater, and you have 4 traffic lights in less than a mile, right on the same road. I mean, so that's why I was wondering if it's full-blown, or maybe a flashing red light, or maybe a 3-way stop, but the plan is a full-blown.
Full-blown, and it'll be a mile from Ironwood to Meridian on our side. Yes, you're correct, going towards Signal Butte. There is quite a few, especially down towards Signal Butte there.
The next light is only a mile away at Signal Butte.
No, you have.
You have a light in between.
You have 2 in between.
Yeah.
No.
It's Sunland Village and then one at
Theater.
Barrows.
Oh, Sunland Village, yeah, and then there's one going into Barrows, and, yeah.
Significant commercial over there.
Yeah.
And as you get more commercial, as we get more commercial, we'll have to look at traffic studies and lights as well.
And you were talking about Haven Hollow, is that what does the reconstruction mean?
Yeah, so reconstruction, just fancy for repaving. We'll totally redo the asphalt, and to a degree, probably base too, if needed in that area. So whenever you see reconstruction, it usually could mean repaving new asphalt.
Okay.
Is that it? We hate to let you go. That's fascinating. That's why we all ran for council, was to hear information like this.
Thank you, Shane.
Presentation and discussion on the response to the city's request for proposals for PW 2019-41 solid waste recycling and disposal services, which 3 responses were received. Heather.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Heather Hodgman, Public Works Management Analyst. We're here to discuss solid waste recycling and disposal services. On June 10th, the city issued a request for proposal. On June 24th, we did hold a mandatory pre-bid meeting, which 3 providers showed up, and we discussed some questions during that time. July 11th, we received 3 proposals: Solid Waste Transportation, DBA Republic Services, Waste Management of Arizona, and right-of-way disposal. During the review of the proposal, we noticed that we had 2 non-responsive proposals, which was Waste Management and RAD. What that means is that they did not submit the required exhibits, which was actually spelled out within the request for proposal. Waste Management did not submit Exhibit Q. Exhibit Q is actually listing any of the HOA services that they currently provide. Excuse me. Any HOAs that they currently provide services to, as well as the length of the term of that. Right-of-way did not submit Exhibit L. Exhibit L was actually the collection route and the map within their proposal, so how they would perform the duties, as well as Exhibit Q, which is the HOA where they service and the length of the term. So that's why we deem them as non-responsive. However, the city went ahead and proceeded to score all 3 proposals. When you do an RFP, it's not based on the lowest bid. It's actually based more on technical and the proposal that they submit. Price is included, but it's not the main objective. So the technical proposal, I kind of gave you guys a brief outline of what the points were, so 200 points, and all the qualifications that we were looking for with their submittal. So their experience, their qualifications, their method of approach, their education and outreach, their billing, clarity, and the addendum. The city issued 2 addendums. The addendums consisted of clarification. We had some questions in our mandatory pre-bid meeting, so we submitted a clarification addendum for them. And during the process, we had some questions. And so then we issued another addendum. So they all received them, they all acknowledged both addendums. We did have 5 staff members that reviewed all the proposals. And so this is where the point system's coming in. So Allied Waste Republic Services scored a 194.8 out of 200. Waste Management scored 172.6, and Right-of-Way Disposal scored 155.6. The city had 3 different types of services within the proposal. So the first one was the standard service. The standard service consisted of curbside solid waste pickup once a week, curbside recycling pickup once a week, and bulk trash pickup once a month. What's in yellow is the lowest price between the 3 different providers. Allied Waste Transportation had $13.28. That included all 3 of those options. Waste Management of Arizona, their total was $27.50 for all 3 of those options. Right-of-way disposal was $15.66. That included all 3. The 2 additional alternative services, one was for curbside solid waste, 2 times a week, did not include recycling. Allied Waste was $10.71, Waste Management was $23.37, right-of-way disposal was $14.50. The third option for service was curbside solid waste twice a week with 1 time a week of recycling.
And Heather, this is for once a month.
It's once a month. Well, no, the prices are once, that's their monthly fee.
Right.
Not once a month,
Not
but,
the month, yeah.
so that's their monthly. Each one of these prices are the monthly. So then Waste Management submitted $23.37, but they did not bid on the recycling with the 2 days. And Right Away had $20.81 with solid waste twice and recycling once. So staff is recommending entering into the contract negotiations with Allied Waste Transportation, DBA Republic Services. Staff is seeking council direction on whether to include the standard service or any of the alternate services in the contract negotiations. Any questions?
Are there any questions?
Yeah, I've got some. I just wanted to clarify that was a monthly rate for them. I presently pay every quarter with the service provider that I have. Is that an option, or are they gonna be, or is that a moot point, or as far as for our citizens?
I think that they did say that it could be quarterly. There was
We could do it quarterly.
there was an option if you paid annually, there was a reduction if you did pay
I saw that,
annually.
yeah. And then, do we have any kind of control in here as to the annual increase they could do on the rates?
There
over a
was,
course of time?
there is what is called, I'm gonna find it so I don't botch up the words. The Consumer Price Index. So within the proposal, we actually put that in there, that they have to go off a specific website, a Consumer Price Index, for us and provide that information. So it's going to be, it can't be every month or every 2 months, it's an annual price change, potentially.
And then over the last few years, because of the fluctuation in fuel costs, some companies are putting in fuel surcharges. Is there anything addressing that in the agreement, that they would be able to increase any fees because of that, or?
There was no mention in the RFP. So with contract negotiations, it could come up, but I'm not sure, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, UPS does that all the time. Anyone else? Were you done, Jeff?
I had one more question. And so, we're gonna be growing in our area. We're gonna be growing south and everything. Do we have, that's gonna be part of the negotiating process once we start expanding our areas for service and everything down the road? Is that part of the agreement now, or is that just something that'll be talked about when that happens?
We could check with the city attorney, but my expectation would be that if it's inside the city limits, we service, and this would be applicable to all.
All right, I just want to make sure
That's
that
correct.
the providers know that they're, then this is, I don't know is there an estimate of how much, I gotta use my proper grammar here, Councilman Barker, how much quicker the landfill would be filled up if we were to choose one of the providers that would use the landfill solely? Is there any kind of a estimate as far as how much quicker it would be filled?
There is no estimate.
Okay.
The RFP allows for any of the 3 to take it wherever they
Yeah.
feel best, yeah.
Any more, Jeff?
No, I'm done. That's-
Anyone else? How often would this come up for bid?
This is the proposal stated 8 years, up to 10, I think is what it was. So an additional 8 years, initial two additional 1 years, to max of 10.
Okay.
Just one more question, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
Is this just for residential pickup and then, or is the commercial and industrial have the ability to go out and provide, or pick whatever vendor they want, or is this all inclusive?
This RFP is for residential only.
And state law requires that.
I just wanted to get
Yeah.
that out
So
to the
does
people,
that-
so.
Does that also include mobile home parks, et cetera?
No, it does not.
No. So we're still going to have garbage trucks running up and down our roads?
Through mobile home, yeah, and they're viewed, maybe Larry can come up and answer this. We get into the mobile home parks versus duplex or triplex, but we've answered that in prior work sessions. But the mobile home parks function as a commercial group, kind of like an apartment, versus duplex. I can't remember where we landed at, a fourplex, Larry, or? Fourplex, yeah. Everything, fourplex, twoplex, dualplex, and then single-family residence.
So, you know, I've had that ongoing issue on Winchester with the dumpsters never being taken back up. So since those are apartments, we'd have no say over that?
If those are duplexes, which I think they may, then they would be part of this, and then we would, as part of the enforcement arm, we
Yeah,
would need
so
to have them.
I'm gonna make
yeah.
a statement now. I was really against doing this, unifying them all, because I always thought, you know, the competition would be better for prices and keep them down. I remember when RAD came in right away, they lowered everybody's prices, and they made everybody else respond to them. And now, obviously, these prices are pretty low here, so, and I do see the benefits of having it, but I would like to have, I think Mesa has, the city does it, right? It's a city service. So obviously they can enforce it however they want. So I do have issues with certain places that they don't really take care of they're not called dumpsters, they're called what,
Just trash containers to roll
Trash
out.
containers,
Yeah, 90-gallon.
So could we, whoever gets this bid, we'll be able to leverage them to possibly, Larry, are you familiar with the area that I'm talking about?
I have. What we did in our department came up with, not a sticker, but like a brightly orange-colored thing that we taped to those carts that you were talking about. So we've gone out there at least once with like just a notice, hey, you have to bring these up to the house.
But the tenants,
You can't just leave them in the street until next
yeah,
week.
they stay in the street
Right.
all week.
So we've been trying to keep an eye on that one. One thing after the contract will come back, but also the other part of this, currently solid waste is in Volume 1, Chapter 9, it's Section 9, or Article 9-5. So part of this, we have to come back and amend the ordinance to help implement the days of the week. So right now, Article 9-5 regulates the days of the week and all that. So we'll come back. It may be that we have trash now 5 days a week, but it might be just with one provider. But we'll have enforcement provisions, and where do they have to keep the cart? Do you want the cart visible from the street, not visible from the street? Those are things that you'll get to decide later. But at the time we bring the contract back, we're also having to update the ordinance. And that'll have some enforcement tool in there.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, I just want to thank the city staff members that reviewed this. It was in May of a year and 3 months ago, you asked us to go out and, as part of a long-term vision to help keep our community clean and prosperous and moving forward. We've noticed that many cities around us have moved from a subscription base to one company that does it. It's been talked about here a long time. The other part of this piece is what Larry's referring to, which is our ordinance does not require people to have residential trash service, and I think we're one of the only communities that have that. And so this is a dual process in terms of having folks. And I want to thank our staff for looking at it. And it's now been presented to you with the RFP, and the results are here, and we seek further direction.
So, go ahead.
I wish there was a way to require that they had the service, but still give people the option of choice,
Of choice of what?
which provider they use.
And if we approve it, how long do they have to transition? I mean, that's a lot of extra dumpsters for whoever gets the contract, and
Once council approves the award, they have 365 days to get everybody on their service.
1 year.
1 year,
That takes care of the people that may have paid a year in advance.
correct.
And I think there's provision for the HOAs that have contracts, right?
Yeah, during the mandatory pre-bid meeting, we were told that there could be 3, 5, several years with HOAs. So we'd have to work with the provider and find out when those terms will stop, then they would pick up then under our contract.
And we have a target date, I think, of March 1st.
March of 2020, yes.
And Al Bravo would have a lot to do with getting the word out. But it's not uncommon for East Valley cities to have this type of service. Florence, Globe, Fountain Hills, Chandler, Queen Creek, and I can go Avondale, many others.
Anyone else? So, what are we actually voting on tonight then, if we?
There's no vote, just the direction. There's before you can have us go with the standard service. You can tell us which company to start beginning contract negotiations with.
Yeah.
You can tell us to do the alternate service, and we can.
So there's no public hearing, it's just direction to staff, so we are gonna vote on direction.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So I wanna make sure, because we're gonna take a break here, so is there any more discussion? Any other questions you anticipate might come up before we, or not?
Not aware of any that we went through the RFP process just like we do every single other RFP. We had Heather help us out on that, and
We
the
did
group-
study other cities.
The RFP was a study of many other cities' RFPs that have gone through this process and looked at best practices and tried to apply it to the best we can to Apache Junction, not based on our knowledge of our community and its uniqueness.
Okay. I'll call for a motion for direction to staff then.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that Allied Waste Transportation, Inc., DBA Republic Services be awarded a negotiated contract as the city's solid waste recycling and disposal service provider pursuant to the RFP for the consideration and approval at a future council meeting on the consent agenda or old business agenda.
And
It's probably best to specify which one you would
Okay.
prefer.
The old business agenda.
Yes.
Okay.
And,
And do you want standard service or?
and, you want me to take it from there?
And 3, that the agreement shall include the standard service or the alternative bid with the following service: solid waste pick up only twice weekly, or solid waste pickup.
Let's clarify that.
Yeah, you need
And this is where we need direction on which
Need
one
to
of those,
choose.
Yeah,
the standard
okay.
service or, yeah.
Both.
Stop it.
So, did you understand the delineation? Either one is once a week trash, once a week recycling, or the alternate service could be for the twice a week solid waste trash with the option for residents to pay a little bit more for recycling.
Yeah.
I like that.
That's the
To include
alternative.
the standard
Twice a week
service.
pickup.
I like both, having the choice.
Oh, crap. Oh, sorry.
Solid,
We can't second a
Sorry.
crap motion.
You can't say that.
That's a different meeting.
If another hypothetical question came up, this is such a long motion.
All this trash talk.
The alternative, the solid.
Do you want us to pull up the page with the numbers so you can see the costs? So the standard service, so here's, so there's the standard
probably
service.
just getting the verbiage in there because.
Is this
the
set in
verbiage
stone
here
once
is
we?
Really confusing.
So you know what to do, just,
Pick up once a week.
So you
So
want
the
the standard service
The
plus
standard
the
service,
alternative service?
The standard service.
How about the twice a week and choice of recycling also?
So let me clarify what it is. The standard service is kind of like we have it now with, it depends on which company it is. One day is solid waste trash pickup,
Can we-
and one day would be recycling.
Can we cancel this motion and then have her redo it after we have you reread it? Are you okay with that, Gail? So we're gonna,
Yeah.
Just withdraw it.
So,
yeah, we're gonna withdraw that for now and come back with, let's think this through first.
so really there's kind of three choices. One is the standard service, so once a week trash and once a week recycle. That's the standard service. The second alternative, based on the alternative bid, would be twice a week solid waste trash pickup. The third option would be twice a week solid waste trash pickup, with an option for those residents that wanted to continue recycling to let the company know, and they'd pay extra to be able to recycle.
Why not have them all three? Why do they have to be ors?
Because the standard service would make it so every resident is once a week
Right.
trash and once. So that's the first big, so then there's the alternative bids. If you want to have the option, if you want to remove recycling out of it, it would be that first or. If you want to keep it as an option for residents to pay individually,
Why can't we?
There are actually two. Let me just explain them, guys.
Really are.
There's really just two options. You either do what you're doing now, once a week trash, once a week recycling, and that number is
it's 13 right here.
13.28 a month, or 30, what is that, 39 a quarter. What, you know what you're paying now, you know what the residents are paying now. Or you direct us to say, and where I think Councilmember Barker's getting at, that kind of is all three, is this this last column, which would be that if residents want to do recycling and pay more, they would have to pay $18.71, but then you could have everyone else doing the $10.71 if they wanted to do recycling only. That's the one that has the most flexibility.
So the 2 solid wastes a week, and if people choose to recycle, they can pay a couple bucks more to get the recycle. That's the one I prefer.
Yeah, it's like $8.
But the once a month
Per month, yeah.
bulk
Joel, we've already said,
pickup
yeah, per month.
is with either one.
Yeah.
No,
If you
it's
like your
actually-
plan, you can
well,
keep your plan.
I guess what I was getting at was why couldn't residents have a choice of once a week plus recycling, or twice a week, and if they choose recycling, add it to it? Why are we breaking all of this out into separate parts? Why couldn't they have that choice?
They do have that choice. That's what they would have that choice if you selected the alternate services, curbside, solid waste.
Well, they would have 2 times a week pickup. What if they only wanted 1 times a week pickup with recycling? I mean, that's all I want. I don't fill a can up even 1 time a week.
$18.71 for it.
Right.
Right, so why can't we have both, is what I'm asking.
I guess I'm missing something here.
Right.
Well,
That's
okay,
not
let's,
choose, it's
okay,
both, say.
yeah, let me,
In other words,
You'll
why
have,
So-
can't
you'll have
somebody
3 tiers
choose
of pricing.
anything?
You say, I want this plan, this plan, or this plan.
Right.
if we did the alternative, they would have the option of having it out there twice a week, but that doesn't mean you have to put it out there twice a week. You could put
Right.
your garbage out once a week
But
to
you
be
have
picked
pay
up.
more.
No, not
No.
for
Only
the,
if you recycle.
Well, that's
only if you
well and
recycle.
good
That's
for
more.
somebody who doesn't recycle. I can see the advantage there, but as someone who does recycle, I'd much rather pay $13 than $18.71 for 2 cans that I don't fill up.
And that's the
I mean, do you
standard
see what I
service.
mean?
Right.
It
Right.
just seems to me that it should be a choice. You should either be able to choose 1 time a week plus recycling, or twice a week without, or plus it, whichever you want to do. I mean, why are we breaking this only into one?
because they're scheduling, they've got to schedule their routes and transportation, and that's all built into their costs.
One of the things that I hear from people, I'm a recycler, but one of the things I've heard from neighbors is, why am I forced to recycle? I have more trash than recycling, and I want both my days to be trash. You know,
Well, that's
So you
what
do
I'm
alternative
saying. Why
then.
not give people that choice?
You do,
it gives
Councilmember
them a
Barker.
choice on the,
Yeah, but you pay $5
Right,
more
that's
for
the-
it.
that's the issue.
And therein lies the rub. You're putting a $5 thing on top of it for people who don't want it.
Heather, maybe explain how it's bid so that they can understand, like, how it's one service for everybody and they can count on and they bid on the standard service, and that's the price you get, versus this one. the ultimate.
When the city staff got together, we wanted to give different types of options, how we could actually work with our citizens to provide that information to you and prices. So our original was just standard, what we do now. Our bid was, this is what we're going for, this is what we're looking for our pricing. So during discussions, we wanted to give more options. So that's where the alternative. Alternative means that just because we focused on standard in the main doesn't mean that we can't change it. Doesn't mean that right now, if you guys decide that we want to go with a standard service, and in a year, 2 years, it could change. It's an alternative. We have the option. We can go to that option. I can give you an example, a different example besides this, if that's okay. Janitorial services. We had done a janitorial RFP. We had an alternative bid. We went through this service first. Eventually, we had to then go and how to use the alternative service due to some staff changes. That gives us that option later on to choose that alternate service. So we had that option and more flexibility. This gives us flexibility of council, however you would like us to move forward, just to kind of give more opportunities now or in the future.
Well, I guess too, I'm thinking about, we have a large number of small households without many people in them. Let's face it, 2, 1 in some cases. They don't have two pickups worth of trash a week. They just don't, and there's a lot of them out there. But there are also families that have a huge amount, and boy, they're delighted with the 2 pickups. My next door neighbor is picked up twice a week, his trash. He needs it. Got a slew of kids. I'm picked up once a week and once for recycling because I don't need that. And all I was asking was, why are we forcing people into either the 2 or the 1? Why are we doing that? Is there a rational reason why we have to choose one?
Joel, maybe you can help me with this, but isn't state law clear on the number of times per week, or maybe Larry can help on?
Yes.
So you have to have twice a week trash, no matter what. That's the minimum. And I think that's the lowest, yeah, okay. And then, so that was the.
And they were counting 1 trash, 1 recycle as twice a week trash. I got that. Understood.
And so then with the changes in recycling and what's going on in China, the price of recycling gets kind of factored in this bid. We get a chance to reset. You've seen many articles lately of other cities, what they're doing. Just wanted the option to see what the cost would be to residents if they just did trash pickup.
Understood. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just asking why we have to just choose one of these. That's all I'm asking.
Well, I think this may not answer your question, but if you vary from what was bid, then you're going to have to rebid it. So
I wasn't varying. I
No,
was
I'm-
taking both of them.
okay.
I wasn't varying at all. They put in a
No,
bid for
I'm
1
not
and
saying
1,
you
and
did.
they put in a bid for 2. I wasn't.
So can you have all the options available? That's the question.
That was the question.
That's the question to you.
I would actually direct that, that's council's.
You guys
This-
can all
you know,
ponder
the
that. I had another
question is-
question come to me that's been stuck in my head. If we approve this, when people know that they're leaving a job, they sometimes don't work as hard. And if we, we have this year to implement this, what's to say that they're really going to care and keep up the good service when it gets down to the last couple months? How do we ensure that one of the companies that I've had their service and they know that they're losing it, and they just decide to skip me, and I call them and say, well, that's too bad, I'm out of there anyway. Kind of like an employee that's not going to be there next week.
Well, wouldn't they gravitate to the other company that was going to be here then?
You mean drop their service for that last month? I don't know, I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
Really-
these 3 companies in particular that have serviced Apache Junction residents
For you?
have a great name, and
They're reputation.
Yeah, reputation. I think that it would be surprising to me if that happened to.
Okay. Because right now, we hold that over them. Hey, if you don't come back and pick me up, I'm going to drop you, which I've had to do. Okay, back to the motion discussion.
I'm confused.
Did that break?
Do you want 2 days of trash, or 1 day trash, 1 day recycle? And do you want,
Well, yeah, I understand the options.
Yeah, we all.
Robin, you're saying, why can't we just have a choice? Like, whoever
Do
signs
you
up,
want
hey, I
one
want
day of
A,
one
B,
day
or C.
2 in one?
That may rest on their shoulders about the scheduling, like how Jeff's saying, bringing the trucks out. Now, I'm thinking number 3, the two times a week plus once a week recycling, the 1871. I interpret that as a separate alternative. It's not like alternative 1 and 2 are the same. You know, it's just,
Yeah,
hey, I'll pay
I
the
see
extra
what you mean.
$8.
It's $5.
You either have to get that, and that's just what it is. But wouldn't everybody, so if this is a situation where everybody in the city would have to be on board with this, because this is what we're putting forth, right? This is your option. You have to do twice a week plus once a week recycling, and it's gonna cost you $18.71.
No. No, you can do the alternative, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we can just, because I might choose not to do recycling, so I wouldn't have the recycling can out there, right?
Correct.
Right, then you would be 2 times at 1071.
Right, and that's all it would cost me.
That should be the answer then.
Because
So the customer will have the option, if they don't want to recycle, they're not going to pay $8 for nothing.
That's right.
Right.
But you're forcing those of us who do want to recycle to pay $8 more when
if you want to pick up
$5
five.
more
Right.
than the
Or
other
you can use
option.
the
That's my,
standard service.
yeah.
Or go to standard.
Or the
service.
standard is,
The standard.
That's a priority, that's a council
You're
public.
so it would be
pushing $5 more a month on me just because I choose to be eco-friendly, and that's kind of a punishment.
if you wanted 2 times a week trash pickup.
I don't.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
Yeah, the
saying.
standard is really,
The standard is what,
if we need
Sta-
one, then
Standard will be very familiar to the community.
that's
what's
the
going on now,
norm.
right?
That's what we have
That's
now.
that's our neighborhood.
that's what
right?
I have.
That is
now.
correct, that's what we have now.
That doesn't apply, you would have to have, if you normally would have enough trash where you would have trash for twice a week, then you'd have to have 2 trash containers to handle all the trash.
and there's large properties that have that issue right there, that have more waste than they have recycle, and so that's,
That's what I have right now,
Yeah.
because I don't have a lot of garbage, but if I clean my yard, 2 isn't even enough.
yeah.
Well, then you just wait for the next week.
Oh, that's
So
when
I'm
you
leaning towards the twice a week trash, and
I think you're
if
punishing
people can
by
pay the
doing that.
option if they want to recycle.
So if they can pay the option if they want to recycle, why can't they pay the option to only get one?
Yeah, thank you. That's what I've been
come
trying
So
to
pay-
say.
So what would the fee be? What would the fee be to have 2 trash cans then? So if we go with the standard of the 13, where you have 1 trash and 1 recycle, with what Mr. Schroeder recommends, what would be the additional cost for people that want to have 2 trash?
They had that in
The
there.
difference in the cost, right?
The receptacles themselves?
They had a price in there for an extra receptacle.
Okay, what's the
I know,
price?
I read it.
It was
when I-
47 pages, I don't
I know,
remember out of.
I know
all
it,
those.
I remember reading it though.
Do you remember?
I do not.
I'm
I thought I didn't bring their proposal, so I didn't
This
look
is
at
going on a
the
lot longer than I
individual
thought.
pricing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's always tough, and I've been here working through this for 17 years, from a council policy discussion of trying to have everyone get on the same cycle. You know, we hear complaints about lots of trucks in the neighborhood, they wear down our streets, and you can certainly go, everyone will be familiar, we won't have to transition as much, once a week trash, once a week pickup, that's $39. That's a little bit less than probably the most, but recycling has hit up the cost.
And it'll eventually go away.
The additional- The additional receptacle is $5.31.
Yeah, page 18 of their proposal.
96-gallon receptacle.
From Allied Waste?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Page 18 of their proposal, it says right in there, that's the additional cost for all the different other services that they might provide. Also, all of the, larger 2-yard, 4-yard, all of the different that you could use.
The easiest would be to do what we're already doing. That would be the easiest way to go. But again, with this conversation coming up of now that I'm being forced into one company, I don't want to, and again, it's not my issue, but this is what I hear, is that we're being forced to go with one company. Now I'm being forced to only have one trash can.
No, you can get a second one for additional price.
So we're either gonna pay for additional trash or we're gonna pay for recycle, either one.
Yeah.
People are going to be forced to pay, which either side, there's not gonna be 100% that is happy. They're either gonna pay for an additional trash bin, or they're gonna pay for an additional recycle bin.
Right.
Who's gonna pay? That's our decision.
And-
Who are we gonna make pay? The
And we-
trash people or the recyclers?
And we currently have to do that anyway with
Yeah.
my provider.
I have a trash story. When we got forced to go once a week, I used to have Monday and Thursday, and I used to always go fishing on Sunday night. So I'd clean fish and throw them in the dumpster, and they would get picked up Monday. And now I only get picked up on Thursday, so I can't throw fish guts in because they sit out there till Thursday, and all my neighbors get mad at me, so.
Gee, I wonder why.
Go fishing
So-
on Wednesday.
Cats probably like.
I work, so Sunday was always the day off. It was fishing day, so I couldn't throw fish heads in there anymore.
But just one of the reasons why we are looking at this is to get one hauler is, I mean, what we just had a presentation. We just had a presentation on our roads, and we had that
RSL.
Service line.
RSL. The status of our roads, and if we have less traffic by these large garbage trucks on our roads who are just, one company servicing us, that's gonna save us money in the long run as a city. So that's another aspect that we have to look at, why we are going to just one provider as opposed to multiple providers.
Going back to this, and I know I'm drumming, and yeah, I'll shut up in a minute. But you could get your extra container for $5.31, and that is about the same as a standard
Yep.
pickup would be, and that would allow people to still have their recycling, and it would allow those who want 2 cans to get 2 cans, and they don't have to recycle. Because they were talking about 2 pickups.
Well, do the same can, but a different day, right?
One of the things would happen,
They wanted 2 cans picked up. 2.
Larger lots usually have more trash than
So if
recycle.
they had 2 cans, it'd be the same price as, yeah.
But that's not part of anything that's going on right here.
No,
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
it is.
Do it, it is, yeah.
Private citizen doesn't have
If,
only one
if
pickup.
you went with the standard service and somebody.
I've lost
wanted to,
control of this meeting.
they-
Your
I
Honor.
don't know,
They could add it to that, which is the $18 that goes on the other.
so the curbside solid waste collection pickup, that's the 1328 quote, is what everyone's familiar with in this community. Some companies do 2 cans and you do it on the same day. I think that's the RAD model. Republic does a Monday and a Thursday, and depending on where you are in the city, you get one, and you do that weekly process every time. The next sheet just basically, I think, is, it would come Monday and Thursday trash. It'd be 10-something. And then for everybody else that wants to do recycling, it's like Councilmember Parker said, it pushes it on. You would get the recycling container and you would pay more.
that's the one I would prefer Gail would read.
I'm confused at
Me
this
as
point.
well. I would agree with that one.
I think the standard one's fine with me, but,
What's in yellow right now?
Standard.
That's the
no,
alternative.
this is the standard. This is what we have now
So
typically.
you're asking for the alternative
Yeah.
on the other page?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
I like the standard.
The alternative,
Yeah,
The alternative.
yes.
that one,
Which alternative?
right there.
This one.
The
The
curb,
one that's highlighted.
one or
top one
two?
there, yeah.
The alternative is where there's
But there's one.
trash
here.
pickup.
There's
once
not
a
two.
I
Not
missed.
that one.
I think we got off on the wrong, there's really just an alternative service that allows that flexibility for a higher cost or the standard service. And it is way a public policy discussion, and it's a hard one, and I understand. we just need to know which route to go.
Somebody else choose.
Anybody want to try to make a motion on this?
The alternative, I agree.
We can't stay here all night, so we have to make a motion.
I will
Either
try,
one.
but you're not gonna like
These
it,
go together.
so you can
No,
vote
she's-
no, and then we can go to another motion.
Wrong button.
We can't hear you, Robin, with,
I
you're not
was-
talking into the
I
mic.
am, I'm talking to myself at
Okay.
this point. Okay, I move that Allied Waste Transportation, Inc., DBA Republic Services, be awarded a negotiated contract as the city's solid waste recycling and disposal services provider pursuant to the RFP for consideration and approval at a future council meeting on the old business agenda. And the agreement shall include the alternative bid of solid waste pickup twice weekly with an option for residents that can contract for recycling services for an additional fee.
Do we have a second?
Happy?
Sounds
So-
good. Second.
So we just motioned on what's in yellow right there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we have a second. Roll call.
I was gonna say, we didn't have a
Just a
second.
Yeah,
second.
Second was
Vice
here.
Mayor?
Oh,
Thank you.
did he? I
I've
didn't hear.
never heard of
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker,
I don't want to answer that.
shall I come back to you?
You-
Yes, I'm, if forced.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Councilmember Struble,
This is a longer discussion
Oh,
than anyway.
just say
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
I think so.
Mayor Surtee.
Yeah, I guess it's inevitable, so yes.
All right, unanimous approval, Your Honor.
Do we have a motion on the next meeting dates?
Oh,
Do
hold
we
on.
not have
Oh,
one?
We have one more
We got one
presentation.
more, we got one more.
Oh,
Right,
Anna,
more to
And then
go.
we-
Number 14.
I guess we gotta listen
It's
to
a super long one. Yeah.
presentation and discussion on
We told her
fiscal,
to-
Oh, Anna, boy, did we put you in a bad spot on
Hey.
the agenda.
Hey,
I'm gonna have to gavel you guys, hold
no
on.
questions, right?
Presentation and discussion on fiscal year 2019 and 2020 cancel work plan.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, City Council members. Anna McCray, Assistant to the City Manager, here this evening to provide you an overview of the fiscal year 2019-20 proposed City Council work plan. The work plan contains items submitted by departments expected for council consideration this fiscal year. Some of those may have budgetary implications that you've been made aware of already through the budget process. Staff works to align those goals with the city's vision and mission statement set forth by City Council. City Council work plan contains organization goals with measurable outcomes. It aligns organizational goals with City Council policy, dedicates resources for project completion, and provides clear direction to city staff. It's also the intent that the council work plan provide information, transparency, and accountability to the public. There are 26 projects identified in the work plan in 4 categories: quality of life, community investment, strong infrastructure, and world-class governance. 5 of those projects are in quality of the life. Projects 1 through 5, the dog park design, the Parks and Rec citizen brochure, which you heard about tonight and voted on, the senior services bingo license, 2020 general plan, and the visitor center services contract. 3 projects are within the community investment category. This is public art, city leased BLM land, and Apache Trail median beautification project. There are 9 projects under the strong infrastructure category. That is the continuation of the financial management software implementation. Projects 10 through 15, which are various street projects, some of which you heard about through Shane's presentation this evening. The development fee ordinance update and infrastructure improvement plan, and Superstition Shadows Park new fencing. Also, 9 projects are included in the world-class governance. That includes the solid waste and recycling services, which I think we've probably talked about enough tonight, the Parks and Recreation fees update, zoning ordinance update, the liquor license application process and fees update, public records request process update, Chapter 8 business license code changes, 2020 personnel rules changes, website remodel, and the continuation of the MyGov online planning and zoning and permitting software. So that concludes the quick overview of the fiscal year proposed council work plan. There'll be a first quarter update in October, and I'll be back for your feedback. You can take that tonight, and then back for your adoption of this work plan in the September 3rd meeting.
Any discussion? So, are we voting on?
No.
No. Okay. All right, thank you. We have a motion on meeting dates.
Your Honor, I
Yeah.
move that an executive session at 6 PM and a work session at 7 PM for Monday, August 19th, 2019, and an executive session at 6 PM and work session at 7 PM on Tuesday, August 20th, 2029 be canceled due to the annual League of Arizona Cities and Towns Conference, and that an executive session at 6 PM and work session at 7 PM for Monday, September 2nd, 2019 be canceled in honor of Labor Day, and that an executive session at 6 PM and a work session at 7 PM be held on Tuesday, September 3rd in the City Council Conference Room and City Council Chambers located at 300 East Superstition Boulevard, Apache Junction, Arizona, and other meetings as necessary.
Second.
Brian, did we just approve 2 work sessions and no regular meetings?
Let's have Jennifer answer that. We are preparing to come back for a,
Regular meetings are per city code.
Yeah.
So you're approving
Okay,
the
so we
work
don't have to
session.
vote. Okay, that's what I was wondering too.
So you
Yeah.
never choose regular meeting nights. You're only choosing the work sessions. The reason you have a Tuesday night work session in these motions every time is if there's needed more discussion from the Monday.
Okay. Roll call.
Councilmember Schroeder,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Wilson,
Yes.
Councilmember Barker,
Yes.
Councilmember Evans,
Yes.
Councilmember Rizzi,
Yes.
Councilmember Struble,
Yes.
Mayor Surtee.
Yes.
Unanimous, Your Honor.
And we have several call to the publics. And this is a time for the public to express requests, communications, comments, and suggestions. Each speaker must have already filled out a request to speak form and handed it to the city clerk before the end of the city manager's report. All issues shall be presented in a professional manner without personal attacks. Under the open meeting law, the council cannot engage in discussion on the issues presented, but may respond to criticism and may direct staff for follow-up, and the speaker directly and/or place this matter on a future agenda for council discussion. There's a 3-minute time limit for each speaker. The first one is Bart Powell. And we need your
Members of the
address.
Council, Bart Powell, 3755 South Royal Palm Road, Apache Junction, Arizona. I was as confused as you guys were on the RFP process. Just a couple comments here. This is the fastest RFP process that I've ever been involved in. From the time that you guys elected staff to go out, it was 5 weeks. Plus, it was over a holiday weekend. Several questions were raised. Till we got questions back, part of the RFP said there was 24,000 homes. Ended up only being 12,000 homes. How can you put together an efficient bid when we don't even have the accurate information? 2 of the largest haulers were non-responsive. I've done a lot of bids, very confusing in the RFP process. I still don't even know, I got rental houses in Apache Junctions, I still don't even know what services you voted on. Been a large employer, I've been doing trash in the city of AJ for over 20 years. Obviously, been involved in a lot of cities that I have done privatizing. There's been a lot, city of Paradise Valley. They tried to go down this road. Obviously, their constituents take away their freedom to choose. Like the mayor said, you lose that. If you don't like the person that's there, right-of-way disposal services over probably 2/3 of the city right now. When RAD started, what was the service like? Why are so many residents of the city of Apache Junction with RAD now? Anyway, thank you for your time.
Fawn Fajan.
You remind her to start the clock.
oh, Jennifer.
Yeah. Can you do the clock? Okay.
Oh, I know. I know to speak fast. I printed it.
Oh, no, it wasn't going, so that's all.
Oh. Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak. My name is Fawn Fajan, and I'm here to discuss an issue that I have with flooding. I'm here today to show that the stormwater that causes flooding is a citywide issue, not just an individual community issue, and to state that I support the city with all actions to slow the stormwater down that comes into our communities. In January 2017, my husband and I bought our first home. July 24th, my kids called me at work to say that the garage was flooded and it was up to our front door. This is the water flow. For some reason, it came up sideways in this presentation. It comes through our garage and our front door. It brings the mud and debris along with it. These are the culverts before the city came out and cleaned out the pipes, mattresses, and pillows, and everything comes down with it. August 24th, about 9 p.m., my husband and I were laying in bed during a heavy rainstorm. When we heard water, we thought the water might have been from a window being left open. My husband went to inspect the sound. We realized we were standing in water in our bedroom. I ran through the house to try to see where it was coming from. We found out it was coming through the walls. I tried to grab everything I could to soak it up. My husband ran outside to break our black wall outside to give the water somewhere else to go. These are pictures before we bought our house, just to show the water came the direction it came in through our walls. This is the water that night. I only took a few pictures as I was trying to grab everything I could to stop it from destroying the floors we had just put in. Outside, a little while later, to show the mud and the destruction that it caused, the rocks and the debris that it brings with it. Inside our house, when it dried, it smelled really bad, and we had to rent steam cleaners and tear apart our house. It ruined the laminate. These are the culverts, all the sediment and debris that it brings down with it. It comes up over the embankment through the park, and it slopes down towards my house. The yellow is the culverts, the blue is the water flow, because the culverts are too full to handle all of it, and it slopes to my house. This is where I backtracked the water flow through the FEMA website, but it wouldn't let me print it or screenshot it, so I had to draw it myself. This is backtracking the culverts up to the Village Inn, and that plaza, as everybody knows, I bet they've had a lot of problems as well across the street through the RV center. It actually, there's two main water flows that stream into ours that go around the police station, I believe it was, and it backtracks all the way up from Goldfield Wash is where it originates from. Sunrise Shadows is trying their best to find ways to keep the culvert cleaned and maintained at all times, but we need the city to help slow down the sediment, debris, and stormwater that comes through. As you can see, there's so much stormwater coming from upstream that it brings so much sediment and debris with it that the individual communities and culverts can't handle it all. We support any actions the city can take to retain the stormwater, and we heard talk about it making the lot across from the Shell into a retention basin, and we support those actions as well as any retention basin that you guys can help with. And because it was super fast, I made copies of the presentation for everybody.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We can.
Yeah, didn't.
Okay, David Bowling.
She's watching. Matt's watching. Yeah, but she's watching.
I'm David Bowling at 1310 North Star Road. I wish to address the council to ask you to revisit the building code changes involving fences and block walls that went into effect on July 16th in light of the following personal experience. On June 16th, I entered into a contract with a licensed Apache Junction masonry company who came recommended by two local acquaintances of mine to build a 6-foot block wall between myself and my southern neighbor. Because my proposed privacy block wall would lie under SRP lines, I first filled out an SRP easement encroachment request, and after an on-site visit from an SRP rep obtained a sign-off on the wall construction. However, I would like to point out a contractor issue not addressed by the July 16th changes, where footer deficiencies were found on my project that necessitated a complaint being filed with the Arizona ROC after the contractor attempted to abandon the job when the deficiencies were brought to his attention. A required or even elective building permit, that's what I would really push for, is an elective process being put in place that included regular construction and inspections would have prevented this problem with a simple footer trench inspection that would have revealed loose dirt and pilaster holes not dug to contract depth, thus halting the concrete pour until corrected. A post-concrete rebar inspection would have also revealed that pilaster rebar was not located at the pilaster hole locations marked out on the ground at all, but simply stuck through partially setting 6 to 7 inch concrete along the footer length. The urgency for this type of permit is indicated by the fact that the contractor himself professes to be the one who does nearly all the trenches for nearly all the other masonry contractors in Apache Junction. I welcome a visit by any of the council members to stop by my place and see the project, since it's halted until the ROC can get there. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay. Jim Groen.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. You may recognize me. My name is Jim Gruen, and I manage the Apache Junction landfill. And it's not always that we have a meeting during quarterly free dump week, so we simply swung by to remind members of council and also any members of the public in attendance to swing by. All residents, again, once a quarter, all week through Saturday, free to dump to residents of the city of Apache Junction. So I know the mayor was kind enough to bring it up. We had already submitted our chance to speak, so thank you.
And Stephen Herring.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just wanted to say thank you for the chance to enter into negotiations. We look forward to strengthening our partnership with the city. Thanks.
Would anyone care to respond to anything?
I guess my question was in the aspect of the individual with the problem with the fencing in the retaining wall. I guess I need to make sure I understand fully what our current rules are, so I can figure out what's going on.
We can't really communicate back and forth. Anyone else?
Well, Mayor, if I could follow, you could direct staff to meet with him.
Yep.
Direct maybe the building official or anyone you think is appropriate.
Chip, would you like to do that?
Okay, I'll ask staff if we can meet with them and see what's going on.
And
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. The lady that spoke on the drainage issues, I also live in a subdivision, but twice a year, and we pay a lot. We have ours cleaned out so that there was one time our subdivision did flood, but since then, it's something that unfortunately the city doesn't have the control over when it does rain, or how much, or where it comes down to fill up those culverts regularly. You don't know. It's kind of a hit and a miss on what you can do, but I do suggest that your HOA follow up more regular on cleaning out for your own subdivision.
And on the first one, I said I have misgivings about my vote on that, because I know I've got 2 accounts with RAD, and I think they're a great American success story. They've came up and out-serviced everybody, and I hate to see that really happen. So with that, we will be adjourned.